Hey folks, this is Math here, and today I'm going to be talking about the movie I just saw, Pixar's Inside Out. Once again, this is going to be just a random stream of consciousness having just come from the theater, much like my Big Hero 6 was, and I'm going to not call this a review. What I do is just talk about it and say, yeah, if I liked it, if I didn't, etc. I don't review these things. Describe them. I say, you might like it. I just put out opinions, and you can decide from there. Now, first of all, before I get into the actual movie itself, the short beforehand, that was really, really good. I had heard about this before, and I questioned how they could do it, and after seeing it, it was beautiful. It really reminded me of a really famous Hawaiian musical artist. I'm going to butcher the name. I apologize for this. Uh, Israel Kama Kiwo Ole. Something in that general ballpark. I cannot pronounce that name to save my life. I just refer to him as Israel, or Iz, as most people did. The singing voice was very similar, and it was just so upbeat and touching, and it just really got you right here. I'm going to link one of his songs in the description of this video, and I would suggest that you actually listen to that song, and that will do more to describe how that short was than anything I could say. Now on to the movie itself. First, I'm not going to touch that it was CG. This is Pixar. They've always done CG. They only do CG. This is one of the few studios I can say CG, hand-drawn, it doesn't matter. They have a style. It works wonderfully for them, and my preference of 2D does not matter because these guys are experts at their own craft, and they've always done that rather than jump aboard what is currently popular. The style of this movie looked amazing. The people in it were kind of ho-hum. Like, people in Pixar movies are very hit and miss with me when they do actual human beings. This looked sort of like Toy Story 2 era style people. There was something a little bit off to the eye about them. It wasn't grating, it wasn't bad. It's just something that kind of stuck with me, that I didn't like the way that they drew or had animated the people as much. But they aren't the primary focus. You see them, or at least the main character herself. Well, I say main character, the main human character, but you only see them for maybe a third of the film at most. They're integral, but they aren't super heavy emphasized, so that isn't a factor, really. It's just one of those annoying little nitpicky things that was probably my only complaint about the movie itself. This was, in my opinion, a really, really great movie. It's going to be my, as it stands right now, third favorite Pixar movie. My 1 and 2 are WALL-E and Up. And this is a very close third. I mean, like, if it weren't for Up's first 10 minutes, this would be number 2. It was that good. It was, if you'll pardon the pun, an emotional journey. I It's rare that you see an animated movie that was able to be watched by kids, understood by kids, and yet had such adult themes and messages behind it. It it handled all these things incredibly maturely. I was if it wasn't Pixar, if it was anybody else but Pixar, honestly, I would be amazed. But why it surprises me every time, I don't know. But Pixar are masters of this kind of stuff, and they know how to handle their craft, and it shows. This is definitely the best Pixar movie in years, uh, due to the whole sequel upon sequel thing, which isn't kind of fair because this is one of their, I think, first original properties in as many years. But I digress. It was a return to form for them, as a lot of other people have said. And if you've liked Pixar movies in the past, you're going to love this one. I would recommend it solely on that. But not only that, they did a wide range of stuff in this. It really amazed me that they could do so many different comedic forms in it. They were very sort of in, at some points they had Hotel Transylvania style, like just movements swaying to and from at hyper breakneck speeds. Just this rubber bandy style animation, and I love that kind of animation. The old school 40s style where everyone was so loose and flexible and just everything moved everywhere, and it was great to see that from Pixar. They had one character almost specifically for slapstick, and it was great. It was the fear character, and he was probably one of the best slapstick characters I've seen in a long time. Uh, my personal favorite, completely biased because I love the comedian, was Anger. Louis Black as Anger. I don't know how Pixar was able to do it, but they distilled his comedy into PG, and it was great. He had some of the funniest lines, and I just cracked up at them. They were so great. I don't know how he did it. It was pure. If you know who Louis Black is, it was his style without curse words, referencing several times that he wasn't saying curse words too, which just added to it. And then Amy, I believe, again, I apologize for mispronunciation. Amy Poehler as Joy, that was the single best casting in this. And this movie had one of the best voice casts I've heard in ages. But Amy Poehler as Joy was just so wonderfully done. You could just feel the happiness and the love and the caring from that character. It's something that is really hard to do with any character, live action, animated. It doesn't matter. It is hard to make that character feel like that, and they found a way to do it. And I am, kudos to you, Pixar. I didn't think they could do it, and they surprised me in every regard, and it was a treat. I'm not going to, if I say the lesson from the movie, that is basically the spoiler for it. There's no big twist, there's no big plot, anything. This is a relatively simple and straightforward movie, but it's got a really good message to it, and I think that message is something kids and even adults can stand to learn, and I'm really glad that Pixar took the time to try and put that in. At least my takeaway of what it was. And it's really nice to see that instead of a lot of other animated movies, which are all constantly the opposite style of message. And I, I'm basically just doing a giant go see this movie. It was wonderful. I have no complaints about this. Uh, Honestly, other than the human animations and maybe it felt a little shallower in some parts. Like the the primary two characters got used a lot, and the other three emotions were still used a lot too, don't get me wrong, but it felt more like theirs was a secondary plot compared to the first two emotional characters. And I like how they intertwined and connected, and it became one solid plot again. But it kind of did feel a little bit disjointed. And in some parts, it felt a little shallow. That's not really the right word I'm looking for. But it's such a very small thing. Like, they made it work. There is no argument that they made it work, and they made it work really well. And this is just like nitpicking to nitpick. All in all, I would say if you like Pixar movies, go see this. If you like Disney style movies, go see this. Don't expect songs in it, I can tell you that right now, which I honestly think it helped this. Pixar doesn't use songs all that much. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Generally, I've noticed they don't. And they feel stronger for it because when they do, they use it for a purpose. And there were a couple times where there were, I think, musical interludes, but it wasn't a song, and it worked really well. There wasn't a cheesy pop song or any kind of like a person was singing kind of thing at any point, and that really helped it. It made it feel more solid in that regard. Shoot, if you just enjoy animated movies in general, I would say go see this. It is probably going to be either the first, second, or third best movie of the year, if I had to take a guess. It's easily going to be in the top three for a lot of people. I can see this being the best animated movie of the year. There's just something about it that Pixar did that worked with this that no one else but Pixar could have done. And I'm really glad that Pixar is still around because they keep surprising me with stuff like this. If you had told me 3 years ago that a movie about the humanized personifications of 5 different emotions inside of a person's brain was going to be the best animated movie of the year, I would have laughed because that sounds so random. But they made it work, and it is something I would recommend to anyone that likes animated movies, that especially if you like Pixar or Disney movies, and just whether you're an adult that likes animated movies, if you have kids, whatever the case, I think you should do yourself a favor and go see this movie because it is really good, and I can almost guarantee that you would enjoy it. This has just been Math Machine talking about probably one of the happiest movies I have seen in a long, long time. Peace out.